Well, good morning, my fellow Americans and Canadians and Aussies and Europeans and everything like that, and everybody who cares about this kind of thing. How are you today? And welcome to American Reversion. And if you're one of those non Americans watching, I hope that your country gets back to the way it should be too, because chances are it's not the way it ought to be, and it's going to take a lot of work getting back. Have you ever thought to yourself, like, what is the stinking problem with things, right? What is the problem? And you can rattle off 100, maybe 1,000 things that are wrong that you might say this is the problem and that's the problem and this is the problem and that's the problem. But I'm going to tell you what the problem is, and it's from a video that I just saw a couple of days ago. So get your Rebellion to Tyrants mug that you can only get through American Reversion. Where do I get that, Steve? Well, you can get it through our website, stonemont.us. Rebellion to Tyrants is obedience to God. Maybe I'll say a little bit more about that in a little while. I was watching I wasn't watching. I was flipping through. You see what's popping up on your YouTube feed, and I saw a channel that I don't watch. Just don't. And but the title grabbed me because it talked about Trump's thing on Joe Rogan, his interview with Joe Rogan. And so I said, okay, well, I haven't seen it. I haven't had time to watch it. My son has watched the whole thing. And you would be, here's something interesting. My son, 18-year-old son, and many of his friends have watched the entire Trump video, or the interview on Rogan on TikTok. And so they are interested, guys. The younger generation is interested. They keep up on stuff more than you think. And so I thought, well, a couple of reasons. I thought maybe I'll see what he has to say. This guy, he's a former SEAL. Many of you, I'm sure, watch his channel. I won't identify him. I disagree with him on a number of things. So I turned it on, and he said that he felt that this interview on Rogan was very important because it allowed him anyway, to learn a little bit about Trump, as opposed to just what they hear in the ads and things like that. Guys, this is the problem. Now, interestingly enough, and I'll get back to this, but I want to circle back on this just a little bit. When Kamala took over the race from Biden, when they shooed Joey out and Kamala came in, I thought, oh man, I'm going to have a lot to say about this on the American Reversion channel. And you may have seen that I haven't posted much on the American Reversion channel. And you might ask why, and I will answer in that because it is nothing new, it is nothing surprising, and it's just one idiocy after another. Okay? Yeah, but Steve, people like to hear about that. Well, yeah, I know people like to hear about that. I don't like to talk about it because I think it's useless. I think it's silly. I think it's ridiculous to keep talking about the same thing and how stupid this is. Right? We all should know it's stupid. Why do we need to talk about it? What people need to pay attention to are developing things. So that's what I haven't really haven't said much about this. And I realized also that after we see the results of the election, that's when I'm going to have a lot to talk about. Here's the problem. This guy who I mean, he makes a lot of videos. I'm not ragging on him. Just because I don't watch his channel and just because I disagree with him on a number of things doesn't mean that I'm putting him down. I'm just giving you my perspective. But here is the problem. When anybody who doesn't know who they're going to vote for, as soon as the candidates are announced, is uninformed. Okay? Simple as that. Jefferson and many other people told us that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. Okay? That's right. What does that mean? That means you keep up on things. You keep yourself informed. The founders told us that it was important. Our republic had only survived with an informed populace and a religious and moral people. That our Constitution was designed for only a religious and moral people. Well, we know that half of the country has gone away from that. But the power of the people comes from their ability to be informed. And of course, that comes in with a free press, which we haven't had in a long. Well, you know what? We have it a lot more with what they call the alternative press, or even people, on YouTube. But it's up to the individual to inform themselves. Anybody who benefits from the greatness of America, or whatever country you're in, anybody who benefits from the many opportunities you have as an American, has an obligation to keep up and understand the formation of the country, the history of the country, the backgrounds of those people wanting to boss you around. And the fact that Americans won't shows the problem. That this guy, military Navy SEAL, former Navy SEAL, needed Joe Rogan's interview to inform him of who Donald Trump was, I find astounding. And I find it to be pretty much reprehensible. The information on Trump has been out there for years. I've said this before, when all the people came on here and said, I don't like Trump, I don't trust Trump, I don't think it. And most people only know Trump from his days of The Apprentice. They think that's when Trump started. I've followed Trump since his first book, and many people know a lot about Trump. He is an amazing person. And he's done a lot of bad stuff. So have I. So have you. Okay? Get over it. But this man is an amazingly accomplished person. And if you knew about him, you would be able to answer people who say, he's a racist, he's a sexist, he's a this, and he's a that. Okay? But most people won't. Most people won't keep themselves informed. And like I said, as soon as the candidates are announced, everybody should know who they're voting for, because everybody should know the background of that person. Now, if you don't, okay, that's all right. But now that you know, now it's time to study. Now it's time to look into these people. All of these people have a history. All of them have a background. If you don't know the background, it's because I'm not speaking to you, because I'm about to say, let me put it this way. If someone doesn't know the background and the history of the person, it's because of their own damned laziness. Because everybody can go out there and find out about these people. But the American voter won't do that. The American voter is going to wait around for the latest interview on The View or Joe Rogan or this or that, and watch the ads, and then make up their decision on these totally warped pieces of information that they have no idea whether it's true or not. They have nothing to measure it against because they don't know the history of these people. And, I've said this before, but if you want proof of this, the night before or the day before Election Day, of course, I know it's different now that we have early voting and all. The day it used to be, and it still is before people vote, who are you going to vote for? The man, the guy with the microphone from the news station, he'll be out there in the street. Who are you going to vote for? And you know how many people will say, I haven't decided yet. They'll say it in this very, very thoughtful. They make themselves look like, I haven't decided yet, he says in his ignorant superiority. He says, I'm still waiting to wait and see if anybody has something that really moves me. You see, they don't realize that saying, well, I'm a dumbass and I haven't kept up and I don't know what's going on and I don't know the issues and I don't know their backgrounds and I don't know this and I don't know that. And I think that can pretty much describe a large section of not just the American populace, but the American voter, and that is, I don't know. I just played, I asked Kelly, I said, did you ever hear the Beatles song, Nowhere Man? And she hadn't. And, as I was thinking about that just popped into my head. I'm not particularly a fan of the Beatles, never has been. It's just my thing. I was more a Stones guy. But they had some brilliant messages in their songs. And I posted Nowhere Man up on the Patreon site. If you didn't, a lot of people didn't know. We have a Patreon channel associated with American Reversion. You're free to join it. Come on over. The link's down below. I put stuff up there every now and then. I'll probably be putting a lot more stuff up over there now. But nowhere man. Nowhere man. He's a real nowhere man living in his nowhere land, making all his nowhere plans for nobody. And that just describes so many Americans. And sadly, many of them vote. And you know what? I'll throw something in here. I don't think that everybody ought to be allowed to vote. Oh, I know. Oh my gosh. That's how Hitler-esque of you. You know, they may as well call me Hitler if they're going to call Trump Hitler. Why? You know, it wasn't the way that it started. When voting was the franchise, as they like to call it, you know, voting wasn't guaranteed to everyone in the United States when our country started. You had to be a landowner. How about that? You had to have what they call it now, skin in the game. And it's gotten to where now, you know, in my family, probably like yours, we don't let the kids make the important decisions, right? I mean, we might ask them whether they want to go to Wendy's or McDonald's, but we don't let them make the decisions of how to spend the money, because they'd spend all the money on kid crap, you know, and then we wouldn't have any money to make the house payment. But that's what our country has devolved into. That's why we're running at a deficit that we will never be able to repay. That's why the economy is in shambles, is because we have let the children, the consumers, make the decisions on how our country should be run. I'll say right now, I was going to make a separate one on this, but maybe I'll give a teaser in here. I don't think that anybody who's taking a non-earned government check, meaning government retirement, if you work for the government, I get it. You got your retirement, good. You ought to get your retirement. And anybody who gets a non-earned government check, like welfare, should not be allowed to vote. Simple as that. People who get their retirement, who get their paycheck, who get Social Security that was taken from them, you know, they didn't have a choice on that. They deserve to get it back. I take it back, darn right. But if you're taking social, I don't care what it is, welfare, food stamps, whatever like that, you go in there, and as long as you're taking that, in my opinion, you shouldn't be able to vote. Because it should be the producers that decide how to. The people who are steering the ship ought to be the ones who are rowing the ship, not the ones who are back there laying in back. Somebody will think that was hateful, what I just said. It's not hateful at all. You don't get to decide, make the decisions if you are relying on other people to provide for you. It's as simple as that. And then if you want to vote, don't take the handouts. If you get off, if you're on welfare and you get off of welfare, and now you are a taxpayer, meaning you are contributing and you are a part of society, good. Your rights to vote have been reinstated. You know, there's a lot of people that can't vote because they're convicted felons. I know one kid who's a convicted felon for selling a small bag of weed many years ago, and he's an upstanding citizen now, but he can't vote. He's a felon. Why? It makes no sense. Many of the laws in our country make no sense. So anyway, the problem is that Americans suffer from self-imposed ignorance, and they seem to delight in it. I mean, they seem to be, too many people are proud of their ignorance. Well, I don't know, but I just feel that. I just think, what do you base your thoughts on? Well, I don't know. I just think that, you know, that's how our country is. And when I heard this guy on his video saying, well, it really allowed us to get to know, you know, the man, the Trump. You don't have to know the man Trump. If you want to, there's plenty of ways you can do it. Read his books, read the articles, going back 40 years. See what he did from the time he was a brand new developer in New York. You can do it. It's out there. It's only laziness that keeps people from doing it if you were really interested in it. And Kamala Harris is the same way. She has got Now, they're trying to hide a lot of her history, but you can find it. There is no excuse to still be saying, well, I don't know. I'm just I want to know a little bit more about him. If you, the surest way to see where somebody's headed is to see where they've come from and to see the line in their past. And if people don't do that, well, that's on them. But you know what? They're hurting the rest of us. They are hurting the rest of us. I want to give a compliment to some people. Everybody who is finally voting this year. Many people I know are voting for the very first time in their life, and I want to compliment them. In the past, they have had this thought that is shared by many I know that, well, politics doesn't matter, it blah, blah, blah. Politics matters. Politics is what decides the country you live in. The other side uses politics and has used it to destroy our country that people always complain about. And yet too many on our side won't do it. So I want to compliment all those who are now joining the fight, getting in there, doing the very least that they can do. But you have to be prepared to do more. And I'll give you something here, and I'll be making more videos after. Right now, I'm interested to see what's happening with this election. And probably after the election, I'll start posting on this channel a lot more. But I'm going to tell you something. I told Kelly this the other day. I was talking about the laziness of people, their not just willingness, but their eagerness to complain. And I said, but I tell you what I'm going to do after this. I'm going to send out a text, an email to a lot of people that I know with conservative leanings, and I'm going to invite them to join a group. A kind of political group to fight to get our area back to conservatism. We have a Democrat, female, Native American, lesbian, MMA fighter as our representative here in my district. So she's checked all the boxes for the Democrats, and she's checked all the boxes for ignorant voters. Okay, but we need to flip that back. I don't have a lot of hope in it, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna send out a text and an email. So, who would like to join together in a political group? No big deal. We meet every couple of months, have some barbecue, and sit around and just kind of use our unity to try to affect future elections and get people in and get people informed. And I bet I don't get much response at all. Or if I do, because I did this on a smaller scale earlier, some time ago, a year or two ago, I'll get people, about half the people will come back and say, yeah, I'll do that. But if you set a time and a date, let's get together, I doubt anything will happen. We will see. That'll be the test. Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. And remember this also. Remember what Mel Gibson's character said in The Patriot when he was speaking against rebellion. And somebody, I don't know if this was before or after, somebody intimated that he might be a coward. But he said, why would I want to trade one tyrant 6,000 miles away for 6,000 tyrants a mile away, meaning your neighbors? Well, the tyranny that's really, the reason the tyranny from Washington and for our government is allowed to oppress is because the tyranny of the ignorant who simply won't inform themselves and take part. 30% of evangelical Christians don't vote. 30% of hunters don't vote. What in the world? Right. I'll be interested in your comments. You all have a good day. Remember that America needs a reversion. I have no idea what's coming. But if we don't get it, we're living in interesting times. You all have a good day. I'll talk to you later.